Welcome to the Gaming Lounge podcast, where we talk about all things gaming related. I'm the host of the show, Boston Brinkley. I'm an avid collector and player of games from the original Nintendo to the PS5. Yes, I collect it all. For today's topic of discussion, I'd like to make a pretty bold claim that the gaming genre is one of the best ways of understanding literature for the reader. The immersive interactivity and the unique variety of genres have allowed players to have a far better connection with its story than any other form of media. These are all games designed in the mind of the player's experience. When we play the games, we're allowed to do whatever the designers allow us to do. In the article, The Explainer, The Art of Video Game Writing, the author states that everything about the game, like the environment, the characters, the rules, and gameplay, can be opportunities to tell the story. These games don't always need text to tell the story, and this allows the games to be easily accessible to others with this design in mind, and it gives the developers more room to express their creative identity. So, what games demonstrate the points made in this article? Well, I conducted a research observing various games of different genres to figure this out. They were mainly less story-driven games that didn't have a lot of written text or spoken dialogue. One of the games I played was Pac-Man World Repack, a 3D action platformer game released this year, which had little writing, few cutscenes, and small character interactions. But one of a unique aspect of the game was that the characters all spoke in a weird kind of gibberish that showed off the cartoony nature of the lighthearted tone that the game took. It was almost like I was watching a Saturday morning animated cartoon. Another game that I played was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, a fighting game, and a great one at that. And while there's necessarily no real dialogue or language in the game, the terminology used in the game, such as the fighting terms, neutral, smash attack, forward tilt, backslash, are all important for the core gameplay as they apply to each character. And you can use these specific terminologies for each character's unique moves and abilities, which allows you to get better at the game. Now, when a game does focus on integrating writing in the form of text or dialogue, there are various ways to do so, which takes things to a whole new level of an unimaginable experience. There are many techniques to this that can be used for different genre of game, fighting, cinematic, story driven, the sort. So in the article Speak Up, Creating Meaningful Characters Through Dialogue, Nick Jones, the author, states that dialogue is all about figuring out how to convey as much narrative information as possible to the player in a short amount of time. When a game can effectively provide the narrative to the players, it's considered good writing. And this is a concept that can be applied to any form of written text. The writing can be integrated into gameplay through written dialogue, in-game text, such as reading a book or letter, and interactions with various characters or NPCs. A game's well-written story can have the power to really create the player's connection to the game. And it's a part that I love so much about video games because it's an experience like no other. Ever since I was a kid, being in a world distant from ours and put in a situation I could only dream of. A book may be able to make you imagine being in a fictional world, but a game has you playing a part in it. You control the characters and see the world entirely through their eyes. I've even talked to my friends about this topic who, they each play just a good amount of video games as I do, and they love this aspect of video games. They love dialogue and writing that gives background to the characters, not just for playing the game, but for its characters, its world, its setting. They even state that, when the writing is simple to understand and not so much complex, it allows them to jump in anytime they want and have so much enjoyment. And I've recently gotten the chance to have a fresh experience of this connection with two new games that came out about a week ago, God of War Ragnarok and Sonic Frontiers, both games that I've been highly anticipating this year, and I've gotten to play a good amount of each of them. So I want to share you my initial thoughts and reactions to the games. So, Sonic Frontiers. So I'm a pretty big Sonic fan. Sonic is pretty much my favorite video game character of all time. I've had a lot of history with the blue blur. I played nearly every game through its highs and lows, and trust me, if you're a Sonic fan, you know. And for this game, it's a pretty big step in the series because it's the first open world Sonic game. So it gives you a lot of freedom. You have a lot of options to do what you want and go around and explore this open world. And for that, the gameplay is amazing. The music, oh my goodness. It's a mix of high-speed, energetic, and somber, calm music. But if there's one thing that is a big step up, it's the writing. In past Sonic games, the storytelling was very lighthearted and kind of childish at times, which, you know, for a time was pretty good, but over time, it kind of got lazy and honestly a little cringe. However, in this game, the writing is taken a whole lot more serious. The tone of the story is very serious, very somber, and the characters have consistent development. Many of the characters mention past events that have happened throughout the entire series, which in other previous games, it felt like none of that really happened to them, and it felt very inconsistent. And when they do mention these past games, it makes me feel a deeper connection to these characters because I know what they've been through. I've played these games. For the next game, God of War Ragnarok, the sequel to God of War 2018, is a far different game than Sonic Frontiers. You know, it's a big AAA game. It's very cinematic, it has incredible visuals and great cinematography that's similar to watching a movie. And it's such an unreal experience. There's a lot of spoken dialogue, there's hidden content to read, there's branching storylines with side quests, and so much more. You know, if you look at the reviews, they're calling this game a masterpiece, and that is almost for the story alone. One of the cool things about this game is that, you know, it has a unique writing style and that it's based on the Norse mythology. So the characters and the dialogue, it's spoken in a unique but simplified Old Norse language. Now, the main character, Kratos, is a big highlight in this game. In the past game, his characterization has been of one that's full of rage, and his main aspect was just kill everything in sight. However, that's not the case in this game, because he's more of a character, because he's a lot older, he has seen the error of his ways, and now he kind of expresses more of his feelings. You know, he's a lot wiser, and you can see a lot of this in his training of his son, Atreus. You can see his emotion. He even interacts with other characters, speaking to them as if they were true friends, which in the past, Kratos would have only spoken to them in a cold kind of manner. And it's been one of the best character developments I've ever seen. So, the question is, why would people not expect video games to have an effective way of telling a story? Well, maybe it's because many see video games as only a form of distraction made for entertainment. They don't see it as the making of art, because not every video game is story driven. Sometimes video games are just made to be a distraction. And they also look at the negatives of video games, which is only a small portion. You know, teenagers spending too much time playing video games, not focusing on their work or any other aspect of their lives. Another thing is that you have to realize is that not every video game will be for everyone. You know, not everyone can pick up and play a certain video game. You know, maybe it's just not their cup of tea, or maybe you just don't like video games at all. You know, people have different tastes. You know, maybe you enjoy a book more. And if that's the case, then I understand. But for me, I've been playing video games throughout the entirety of my life. I'm constantly experiencing something different with each new game that I play. It's how I relax, interact with others, and learn the process of storytelling. I can interact with so many worlds, characters, and plots, make me feel so immersed. The writing enhances the gameplay for many players by making them feel various emotions and understanding the game more profoundly. There's a reason why I write my papers on the topic of video games so much. It's because there's so much I've learned and experienced that I want to share it with others. We can learn so much from video games. Their messages stick with us because we're the ones experiencing them firsthand through the gameplay. And as technology improves, video games are only going to continue to get better and better and create a lasting effect that is pretty much like no other. You can't find it anywhere else. I'm Boston Brinkley. Have a fantastic night and take care.